My boyfriend convinced everyone I was dramatic whenever I caught him lying. But one day he forgot to mute his phone while bragging to a coworker about how easy it was to manipulate me. I recorded everything. The first time I realized my boyfriend wasn't the man everyone thought he was, I was sitting at a dinner table surrounded by people I trusted. He leaned back in his chair, smirked, and told a story about me, how I supposedly lost it when he came home late. He exaggerated every detail, turning my frustration into comedy. Everyone laughed, shaking their heads, and I sat there frozen. My boyfriend's voice carried authority, calm and steady, while mine was silenced by embarrassment. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the moment, the laughter, the way my boyfriend looked so proud of himself for making me the punchline. He didn't just lie, he shaped the way people saw me. He made me look dramatic, unstable, unreasonable. And the worst part? They believed him. My boyfriend lied about everything. Small things, big things, it didn't matter. He'd say he was working late, but I'd find receipts from bars in his jacket. He'd claim he hadn't spoken to someone in weeks, yet I'd overhear his voice on the phone with them. When I confronted him, he didn't argue. He laughed. That laugh was sharp, dismissive, designed to make me feel foolish. "You're imagining things," my boyfriend would say. Or worse, "You're always looking for problems." And somehow I ended up apologizing. Apologizing for doubting him, apologizing for asking questions, apologizing for being dramatic. My boyfriend had a way of flipping the blame so effortlessly that I began to wonder if maybe I really was the problem. My boyfriend thrived on an audience. He didn't just lie to me, he lied for others. He wanted admiration, sympathy, validation. He wanted people to see him as the calm, patient man dealing with a difficult girlfriend. At family gatherings, my boyfriend would slip in little comments that painted me as jealous. Once, when I mentioned a woman he often texted, he chuckled and told my parents, "She thinks every girl is after me." My father shook his head, my mother sighed, and I sat there, silent, feeling the weight of their disappointment. I wanted to defend myself, but I knew how it would look. If I spoke up, I'd only prove my boyfriend's point. The isolation grew heavier with time. Friends stopped inviting me out, saying they didn't want drama. My sister told me I needed to relax, that I was lucky to have a boyfriend so patient. I began to keep my feelings locked inside. Late at night, I scribbled into a journal, pouring out my confusion, my anger, my sadness. Writing was the only place I could be honest, the only place where my boyfriend couldn't twist my words into something ugly. But as I wrote, I started to notice patterns. My boyfriend's lies weren't random, they were calculated. He lied when he wanted sympathy, when he wanted admiration, when he wanted freedom. His charm wasn't for me, it was for the audience. He performed and they applauded while I stood in the shadows, invisible. There were moments that seemed small but cut deep. Like the time my boyfriend told his coworker right in front of me that he had to deal with my moods every day. Or the time he rolled his eyes when I tried to share an idea with his friends, cutting me off with, "She gets carried away sometimes." Each moment chipped away at me, but each moment also revealed his pattern. My boyfriend wasn't careless, he was deliberate. One evening he said he was at the office, but I saw a photo online of him at a bar with friends. When I showed him, he didn't flinch. He simply shrugged and said, "You're stalking me now? That's not healthy." The way my boyfriend flipped the blame so effortlessly left me speechless. He didn't just lie, he made me feel guilty for catching him. I remember sitting alone in our bedroom one night, staring at the journal in my lap. The house was quiet, but my mind was loud. I replayed every incident, every laugh, every eye roll. I thought about the way people looked at me with pity as if I couldn't see clearly. And for the first time I asked myself, what if I'm not the problem? What if my boyfriend is? That question changed everything. It didn't give me answers, not yet, but it planted a seed. A seed of doubt, not in myself but in him. I began to watch more closely, to listen more carefully. I stopped reacting and started observing. And the more I observed, the more I saw the cracks in my boyfriend's mask. He wasn't calm, he was calculated. He wasn't patient, he was manipulative. And he wasn't reasonable, he was rehearsed. Every word, every laugh, every story was part of a performance designed to keep me small, to keep me doubting, to keep me silent. And though I was still living in my boyfriend's shadow, I had begun to see the light peeking through the cracks. The night was quiet, the kind of silence that makes every sound sharper. I was sitting on the couch, half listening to the hum of the television, when my boyfriend's phone buzzed on the coffee table. He picked it up, pressed it to his ear and walked into the kitchen. I didn't think much of it, he was always on calls. But then I heard it. His voice carried through the doorway, careless, unguarded. "She's so easy," he said laughing. "I can tell her anything and she'll believe me. If he catches me I just call her dramatic. Works every time." I froze. My chest tightened, my hands went cold. He hadn't muted his phone. Every word spilled into the room, sharp and undeniable. My boyfriend wasn't just lying to me, he was bragging about it. Bragging about how simple it was to twist me, how effortless it was to make me doubt myself. For a moment I couldn't move. My mind raced, my heart pounded, but my body felt locked in place. Then, almost instinctively, I reached for my own phone. My fingers trembled as I pressed the record button. His voice was clear, mocking, dripping with arrogance. He told his coworker how he could lie without consequence, how he had everyone convinced I was unstable. I sat there, clutching my phone, listening to the man I thought I loved tear me apart like I was nothing more than a joke. And for the first time, anger burned hotter than doubt. When the call ended, I slipped my phone into my pocket, my heart still racing. I didn't say a word. My boyfriend walked back into the living room, smiling, casual, as if nothing had happened. He asked what I wanted for dinner and I forced myself to smile back, my voice steady though my insides were shaking. Later that night, when he fell asleep, I sat in the dark with my phone pressed to my ear. I listened to the recording again. His laughter echoed, cruel and smug. Each word was a knife, but each word was also proof. Proof that I wasn't imagining things. Proof that I wasn't dramatic. Proof that my boyfriend had been manipulating me all along. I played it over and over, sometimes stopping mid-sentence just to breathe, sometimes letting it run until the end. Pain washed over me, but so did relief. For the first time I had undeniable evidence. The next morning I made coffee, kissed him on the cheek and asked about his day. He smiled, unsuspecting, and I smiled back. Inside I was building a quiet storm. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I knew if I rushed he'd twist it again, make me look unstable, convince everyone I was overreacting. So I waited. I played the role he expected. The patient girlfriend, the one who cooked dinner, laughed at his jokes and asked about his work. But behind that mask I was planning. Every time he lied I noted it. Every time he rolled his eyes I remembered. Every time he dismissed me I tucked it away. And every night I listened to the recording again, reminding myself that I wasn't crazy. I knew I couldn't carry this alone. I needed someone to hear it, someone to tell me I wasn't imagining things. So I chose carefully. One friend, someone I trusted, someone who had always been honest with me. We met for coffee. I sat across from her, my hands wrapped around the cup, my heart pounding. I didn't explain much. I just pressed play. Her eyes widened as the words filled the air. She looked at me, shocked, her mouth slightly open. "He really said that?" she whispered. I nodded, my throat tight. She reached across the table, squeezed my hand and said, "I believe you." Those 3 words broke something inside me. For the first time in months, maybe years, someone believed me without hesitation. I didn't have to defend myself, didn't have to explain, didn't have to prove. The recording spoke for itself. That moment lit a fire inside me. After that, everything felt different. I still smiled at my boyfriend, still cooked dinner, still played the role he expected. But inside I was stronger. I wasn't doubting myself anymore. I wasn't questioning my instincts. I had proof and I had someone who believed me. I started noticing more. The way he bragged to his friends, the way he dismissed me in conversations, the way he lied with ease. Each moment added fuel to the storm I was building. One evening he came home late again. He tossed his jacket on the chair, kissed me on the forehead and said he'd been stuck at work. I smiled, nodded and asked if he was hungry. Inside I thought of the recording, of his laughter, of his arrogance. I didn't need to argue. I didn't need to prove anything. I already had the truth. The recording changed me. Before I had been trapped in doubt, questioning myself, wondering if I was the problem. But now I knew. My boyfriend wasn't calm, he was calculated. He wasn't patient, he was manipulative. And he wasn't reasonable, he was rehearsed. Every word on that recording was a crack in his mask. And every time I listened I felt stronger. I began to carry myself differently. I stood taller, spoke clearer, smiled without fear. My boyfriend noticed, but he didn't understand. He thought I was finally relaxing, finally being the girlfriend he wanted. He didn't realize I was preparing. One night as I sat alone in the living room, I played the recording again. His voice filled the space, arrogant and cruel. I closed my eyes, let the words sink in, and whispered to myself, "This is the proof. This is the moment everything changes." I wasn't living in his shadow anymore. I was standing in the light, holding the truth in my hands. And though I hadn't confronted him yet, I knew the storm was coming. The recording had become my secret weapon, tucked away in my phone like a blade waiting for the right moment. I carried it with me everywhere, not out of fear but out of certainty. I knew the day would come when I would use it, and when I did, the mask my boyfriend wore so carefully would finally shatter. I began slowly, deliberately. The first person I showed was my sister. She had been one of the loudest voices telling me I was overreacting, that my boyfriend was patient and I was too emotional. We sat in her kitchen, the smell of tea steeping between us, and I pressed play. His voice filled the room, smug and cruel, bragging about how easy it was to manipulate me. My sister's face drained of color. She set her cup down, staring at me with wide eyes. I didn't know," she whispered. "I thought you were exaggerating." I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The recording spoke louder than any words I could have said. For the first time she saw him the way I had always seen him. One by one I revealed the truth. Friends who had pulled away, family who had doubted me, even a few of his coworkers who had laughed at his jokes. Each time I watched their faces change, from disbelief to shame, from amusement to disgust. At a dinner with two close friends, I played the recording under the soft hum of conversation. They leaned in, listening, their expressions tightening with every word. When it ended, one of them shook her head, muttering, "I can't believe he said that. About you." The other looked at me, guilt heavy in her eyes. "We should have believed you," she said. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. Their reactions were enough. The truth was undeniable, and the mask my boyfriend wore began to crumble piece by piece. But the real moment, the one I had been waiting for, came later. I chose carefully. I wanted him surrounded by people he respected, people who had always admired his calmness and charm. It was at a small gathering, a mix of friends and co-workers. He was in his element, laughing, telling stories, basking in the attention. I sat quietly waiting, my phone heavy in my hand. When the moment felt right, I stood. My voice was steady, my hands firm. "I think everyone should hear something," I said. The room fell silent. I pressed play. His voice filled the space, arrogant and mocking. "She's so easy. I can tell her anything and she'll believe me. He catches me, I just call her dramatic. Works every time." The words hung in the air like smoke. His face turned pale, his charm vanished, and for once he had no words. The silence in the room was louder than any argument. He tried, of course. He always did. He laughed nervously, running a hand through his hair. "It was a joke," he said. "You're all taking it too seriously." But no one believed him anymore. The same people who once called me dramatic now looked at him with disgust. His co-workers exchanged glances, his friends shifted uncomfortably, my family stared at him with cold eyes. I felt a strange calmness wash over me. I didn't need to shout, didn't need to argue. The truth spoke for itself. That night I walked away, not just from him but from the shadow he had cast over my life. I didn't slam doors or throw accusations. I simply left, my head high, my steps steady. In the days that followed, I rebuilt. I reconnected with friends who had drifted, sat with family who finally understood, and found strength in my own voice. Conversations felt lighter, laughter came easier, and for the first time in years I felt free. The recording wasn't just proof, it was liberation. It was the key that unlocked the cage I hadn't realized I was in. Looking back, I carry one lesson with me. Never doubt your instincts, never let someone rewrite your reality. My boyfriend had manipulated me, silenced me, dismissed me. He had convinced the world that I was dramatic, unstable, unreasonable. But in the end I reclaimed my power. My revenge wasn't just exposing him, it was finding freedom in my truth. And as I stood in that freedom, I realized something even more powerful. I didn't need his approval, his validation, or his love. I had my own voice, my own strength, my own reality. That was the greatest revenge of all.